to the YouTube channel. Second, for the latest video. Okay, if you click on that link, you'll be able to go see the last video that we posted and the other videos. Just click on that link. If somebody wants to test that for me, that'd be awesome. And what I'm going to do is ask everybody to, in your web browser, excellent, thanks Emmanuel. In your web browser, please save this as a favorite so you have the link to this meeting. Let's do that. Okay. Good. Okay, so I'm going to open up to questions. Let's talk about any questions that you have and what you'd like to talk about tonight. I'd like to, talk a little bit about understanding the numbers, and it'll be a review for some of you, but it'll be something that we can go over again. It's just I think it's important to understand cap rates and how they work and what they mean, and how we can start to establish normal cap rates in the areas that we're investing. Does anybody have any questions? Anything they wanted to talk about? Any deals? Everybody's good? Okay, so people are typing. Okay, wait to see what that comes up with. Okay. I see people typing, I don't see anything. Okay, do you always shoot for a 10 cap rate? Does it depend on the year? Yeah, 10 cap rate is what we're shooting for as a standard. If we go less than 10 or we find less than 10, we're going to have to look at some other deal or option. The reason we want the 10 is because 10 allows us to do creative financing. Okay? That's why 10 is so important. So if we let's see this. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. Okay. So this is a review, but it's a good review for people. All right. So let's do that and that. Okay. So a 10 cap rate is the same thing as, what is that the same thing as? Who can tell me? 10%. Oops. %. All right, let's try it again. Okay. Percent. This thing is not liking me today. 10% ROI. Now, what is it ROI of? Who can tell me? %10 of what though? What's in an ROI of? Because it's not a cash-on-cash return ROI, which is different. We'll talk about that. But why? What's the? There we go. Set there. Okay, good. What's the difference? Total capital, yeah, Timothy. So total capital in the sense, not total capital. That might not be specific enough. I think I know what you mean. So if a property is 100,000, okay, that's total value. Okay, we're looking for 10K a year. Okay, we're looking for 10K a year. That's what we're looking for. Now 100K is the value of the total property. So total capital, maybe, Timothy, when we say that, we might assume that, or might understand that as how much money I put in. That's cash on cash return. So it's not return on the investment. That's cash on, that's called cash on cash return. This is the return on the total value of the asset. Total value of the asset. Everybody understand that? It's the total value of the asset. So let's do this. Let's go. Share. On. I'll just bring up another window. Okay. That's different than what we call. That's different than what we call. Try that color. Okay. Cash on cash return. Now, cash on cash return. This is a terrible. Wow. Let's do that again. Oh my gosh. It looks like I'm just learning how to spell. All right. Let's try that a different way. Okay. Let's try it this way. Cash on cash return. There we go. Almost looks normal. Okay. Cash on cash return. Cash on cash return is what? Yeah, I need to change my stylus. That's what I need. All right. Cash on cash return. Which means, what is it? It's in what is the cash on cash return? How do we calculate it? What is it? It's income divided by investment. Okay? Income, we'll do what I see. Income divided by investment. That's cash on cash return. So when someone says ROI, typically that's what they mean. Okay? Income divided by investment. Yeah, money invested to income. That's right. That's exactly right. That's different than cap rate, because cap rate's calculating, the assumption is when you get cap rate that you're calculating it based on total value. Total value, okay? Total. Versus, this, which is, because income versus investment, it depends on how much we put in. Whereas cap rate always makes the assumption that it's the total value. Does everybody understand the difference? We good? Any questions? Now, here it is. The reason we're looking for that 10, do it again. The reason we're looking for 10 is, this becomes more clear, is the 10 allows us for creative financing. So if the asset itself, just give me 1 second. If the asset itself, right, is 100K, wrong. Let's do that again. What are we using now? No. Why is it doing that? That's why. Okay. If the asset is 100K, right, is the total value. Okay, 100K equals value. Okay. And 10, in this case, 10K equals net operating income. Does everybody understand what net operating income is, right? Net operating income is all my expenses accounted for, including vacancy, maintenance, and management, right? Taken away from my gross income. From my gross income, that gives me my net operating income, okay? Net operating income, okay? The reason we want the 10K as the net operating income, right, which is a 10 cap rate, is because when you have a 10 cap, what you can do is you can get financing as high as 7% and still come out with what? A 3. Everybody see that? As profit. Does everybody get that? You see why it's important? Now, if we only have a 6 cap rate or a 5 cap rate, right, the financing will eat up everything. Will eat up everything. And we really don't want to invest any other way, because the more money we put in, the less we're going to get for a return, right? Right? So we have to try to reduce the amount of money that we're putting in. Otherwise, it's not worth investing in that property, right? It's not worth investing in that asset. Because what we don't want to do, is you know, really get into investments that are high risk. And high risk investments, right? What do they tell you? They say, look, you know, here's a safe investment, 1%. Here's a high risk investment. It'll pay you 30%. We don't want to be in this investment. We don't want to be there. You know, we don't want it because it's high risk. It's high risk. What we want to be able to do is take a small return and use leverage to increase the return to allow us to get that 30% without increasing risk. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense? Everybody sees that, right? Does anybody have any questions? Please let me know, because I'll go over it again. I know it doesn't matter to me. I want you to understand this, because I want you to understand why we're looking for that cap rate and why it's so important not to, you know, not to reduce it. The 30%. Oh, how do we get to 30? Good question. All right, let's do that. So here we go. So what we do by doing this is the magic, right? Is we want, it's a very important question, extremely important, okay? You see, when you could, let's do the property. I'll show you what I mean, okay? So we have a property, and I've done this example before, but I'll do it again because it's so important, okay? Okay, here's the property, okay? Value equals 100K, okay? Net operating income equals 10K per year, okay? Everybody got that? Okay? So net operating income is 10K per year, okay? Now everyone thinks, hey, this is great. No mortgage, and I'm making 10K a year. This is awesome, right? And the return is 10%. Okay? You're thinking, well, that's not too bad. 10% is great. But see, this is the magic of leverage, okay? So how can we get more out of the same asset without increasing the risk or putting more money in, right? Well, how, you know, excuse me. We don't want to, we want to increase the return, right? And ultimately increase our income from that same 100 grand. But we don't want to put more money into the property or try to raise the rents. How can we increase it? And what we do is actually we deliberately go into debt. And then what we do is we go, let's get a 90K mortgage. Okay? Mortgage. That's just terrible. Look. Okay? Let's fix that. And I really, you know, if it's something you can draw this with me, it's good for you to draw it with me. Because then you can see, you know, you can just write it out. Okay? That's the mortgage. Okay? The mortgage, right, let's say is a 25-year mortgage. Okay? That's amortization. Does everybody know what amortization is? Amortization is how many payments this is broken up over. Okay? Okay, great. Okay, just got a text from my guy. He's on his way. We should be able to get up with him soon. Give me 1 second. Okay, so 25 means this is how many years and really how many months the payments are going to be broken over. Okay, so when they calculate your payment, the first thing they ask is how long will it take the mortgage to complete. Okay, 25 years. So they have to work backwards. Okay, 25 years at what interest rate, you know, and here in this case we're going to go 25-year 3%, which is the going rate right now, 3% per year. Okay, that's 3% mortgage. Okay, now they can't calculate until they know how many years your payment, and 3% is what they're going to charge. Okay, the term itself, and I know most of you have, you know, if you've ever gotten a mortgage or anything, they talk about term. Term just means how long you're going to keep that rate of 3%. Okay, so you could have a 3-year term, a 1-year term, a 5-year term, a 10-year term. The longer the term goes out, typically the longer the interest rate, the higher the interest rate. Why? Can anybody tell me why they want to charge you more? Anybody tell me? Why do they want to charge us more on the interest if we lock it into a longer period? So a 5-year might be 3, but a 7-year might be 4, and a 10-year might be 5. Yep, okay, because they can't change it, so they want to make sure they make a profit. Yep, fluctuations in interest rate. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, absolutely. So their concern is this: during that term, they can't increase the interest. If we go into inflation, right, where interest rates go up to say 10, they can't charge you more during that term. You're locked into the term. So the longer we go out, for us, the longer the fixed term, right? Now in the United States, unlike Canada, pretty standard, they have 30-year terms. 30-year terms. So they know their payment for the next 30 years. That's pretty normal for them. So when you're in the U.S. and you talk about 5-year terms, they call them ARMs, right? ARMs are rate adjustable mortgages, okay? So adjustable rate mortgages, they call them adjustable rate mortgages, ARM. Does anybody know? You know, do you remember when the U.S. went through their housing crisis? A lot of them believed it was because of these ARMs, right? Because what they gave these individuals, what they called them were teaser rates. They said teaser rates. So they'd say that you're paying 1% for the next 5 years, and it's going to reset to whatever's going on in the economy at the time, or interest only for 5 years, and then the payment will adjust based on that new term. So in the U.S., when you talk about 5-year terms, they call them ARMs, as they said, they think you're crazy. They think you're nuts for even considering an ARM, right? Because they're not used to that. They're used to a 30-year fix. In Canada, we run on ARMs all the time, right? Rate adjustable mortgages. Every 5 years typically, which is pretty normal, 5 years, we have to go back to the bank and renew our mortgage. And that rate could be higher or it could be lower, right? Depending on what's going on. So a 3% simply means they're going to charge you 3% per year for whatever term that we have, okay? Whatever term we have, okay? Is everybody with me? Makes sense, yes? Good. Any questions? Okay. Okay. So what happens is when we get that $90,000 mortgage for 25 years at 3%, okay? And we'll say the term's 5 years. It's less important. The term really dictates the interest rate, right? What rate they're going to give us. What's going to be our mortgage payment on this property? What's going to be the mortgage payment? Well, the mortgage payment, I'm just going to do a calculation here, okay? So we're going to go 90,000 at 3% for 25 years. Okay, calculate it. And it ends up being $426.79. So let's say 427. 427 per month. Okay. Okay. Now if we calculate 427 per month, 427 per month times 12 months, it equals $5,124. $24 per year. Okay, everybody with me? Okay. Now, 5,124 per year. Okay. We can't say now that our net operating income produces 10K. That's no longer accurate, right? Does everybody see that? This here is no longer accurate. We can't say that it's 10K anymore because we have to take the 5,100 away. We have to take this, right? This is taken away from our 10K. Okay? The 10K now, when we take this away, and this really leads into the cap rate, because on this property, what's the cap rate? If it's 100K and we make 10K, what's the cap rate? Yeah, it's 10. It's 10. And this is where you see how important the 10 is. Because we have a 10 cap rate, we can take a mortgage out, 25 years, 3%, $427 a month, $5,124 a year. What this does now is it drops our net operating income to what? What's our net operating income equals? Let's take that away for a second. Our net operating equals $4,876. Okay? Per year. Okay? Now, if it's $4,776 per year, okay, what is our new return on investment? Now remember, return on investment is what? Return on investment is, hold on, we have it over here. Our return on investment is investment divided by income, divided by investment. Okay? Let me get rid of this one actually. Let's just make it small. There it is. Income divided by investment. So in this scenario here, okay? This scenario here, what is our investment? What's our investment? If we mortgage 90K, then yes, Timothy, it's 10K. Now look, if 10K is our investment, right? Okay, and our income is this, what becomes our new ROI? Well, our new ROI now becomes 48, almost 49%. Everybody see that? 48%. Now, do you see the magic here? We didn't add any risk to this. Is there any risk added to this investment? Have we added any risk? Can anybody see any challenges with this? If you see it, just say it. If you have a question, it's okay. Do you see any risk added to this? Did we increase the rent? Did we add an addition to the house? What did we do? Does anybody see any more risk added to this investment? Cash flow will be less. Absolutely, Dave. But this is the benefit now. What's the benefit of this circumstance? You're absolutely right, Dave. Cash flow is less. Less cash down. That's a positive. Yeah. Tell me what else. We have another 90K. That's right. With 10, if we're doing this 10K at a time, we can now do this 10 times. See that, Dave? We can do this 10 times. So if we do this 10 times and we're making 48% on each one of them, what does that same 100,000 give us in cash? No worries, Dave. Let's look. Here, let me move this for a sec. Okay, let me move this. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do that. No, okay, hold on. Let's hide it. Okay. The reason it's 48%, Dave, is because we mortgaged 90. We mortgaged 90K, right? If we mortgage 90K, 25 years, 3%, that's our payment. That means this 100,000 that originally we're using, we're only using $10,000. This 10K down here, right? Change that. 10K. We're only using 10K now, and because we're only using 10K and we're producing a return or income $4,876. Our new ROI is calculated against this here divided by this. That's what gets us to 48%. You see that? Right. So now, because we've only used 10K from this 100K, we can now afford to do what? This 10 times. So this 100K that was producing 10,000 is now producing $48,760 because we're doing it 10 times. Does that make sense? Okay. Give me 1 second. Can everybody see the screen fine? Does anybody have any challenges seeing the screen? No? Everybody's good? Okay. Cap rate is it's capitalization rate. It's the return here, the return of 10K against the whole amount. We call it cap rate, not return on investment, because cap rate's against the total value of the house or the asset, right? This down here is what we call cash on cash return. Cash on cash, right? Cash on cash return. This is cap rate, right? Cap rate's 10. Does that make sense? It still stays the same. What do you mean about the cap rate's still the same? Yeah, the cap rate doesn't change. The cap rate's not going to change because what is cap rate? What is cap rate? Hold on 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let me just double check. I got a couple can listen only. Okay. Who can hear me but can't see? Is there anybody that can't see the screen but can hear me? I guess they can't type if they can't see it. That's what you're trying to tell me. Okay. Okay. You know what? Let's do this. If anybody's seeing any problems with that, close every single window and relaunch it. Try that. It's lock mode. Oh, that sucks. Okay, it's going to be recorded, so don't worry. I'm sorry that's happening. Only thing I can tell you, if you really want to go to the extent of restarting the computer, you can do that. Okay. Otherwise, it'll definitely be up and listed on the recording. I promise you. Okay. All right. So let's do this. So for cap rate, it is good. Excellent. Okay. For cap rate, it is NOI, purchase price, or NOI market value of the property. It's always against the property value. Always. Now, let me redo that, Emmanuel. I think I know what you're asking. So if we purchase a property, right, and the market value is higher, I think this is a great point Emmanuel's bringing up. So let's say the property's value is $100,000, but we get it for $70,000. The cap rate to us would be against purchase price. Okay, purchase price. Okay. Purchase price, but you can't calculate cap rate higher than the technical cap rate, higher than the actual value. If you're calculating cap rate and you've overpaid for property, which we will never do, then you're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm just trying to connect with Tarek, who's the finance guest for us tonight. Hold on. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's do this. Give me 1 second. I'm just gonna pause for a second. I just want to try to get Tarek on the line with this. Okay. Okay, let's do that. And let's compose. 1 second. Just write down your questions. I'll get back to you in a second. Just making sure. I'm trying to get him on here. That should do it. You should see him pop on anytime. Okay, let's go back to this. What is that? Okay. All right. Okay. So for the cap rate, it is NOI, purchase price. Okay. So for the NOI for cap rate is calculated after operating costs, but before financing costs. Exactly. So it does. Cap rate has nothing to do with financing. Okay. Nothing to do with financing. This is key. Okay. Nothing to do with financing. Okay. 1 second. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Does everybody have any questions about that? Does everybody understand that? Everybody okay? Okay. Do you see why it's important to get the 10 cap rate? Okay. So I'm going to bring up another window. Hold on. I just want to clear it up. Okay. So the reason we need go another way for it. Okay, good. The reason it's important for us to get that 10 cap rate is because when you do the 10 cap rate, so here we go, 10 cap rate allows us to use creative financing up to 7% and still profit. If we did a cap rate lower than that, it would wipe out, because that 7% comes right off of that cap rate. Does everybody see that? Because that's against, yeah, that's after we've taken our expenses. Well, you know, when you start financing a property, that's part of your expenses, right? To carry the mortgage. That's part of it. So we want to make sure that we have enough cap rate to be able to do some creative financing, and we definitely want the creative financing because the creative financing allows us to get those returns on investment. Everybody see that? We don't want to pay completely for the property because it reduces the return so low. And to give you an example, right now, average anybody know what the average cap rate is right now in Canada? Approximately? No, it's just, you know, it's going to be 3 to 4%. You see that? 3 to 4%. Now in certain areas, it'll be higher or lower, but typically, it doesn't stay there. Okay? It doesn't stay there. Do you guys remember why it won't stay there? There we go. Tarek just joined us. Beautiful. Does anybody know why it won't let us stay there? Prices will creep up. Yep, exactly. Prices will go up, and this is the tough thing for people to understand. The market won't let you make money for nothing. And it sounds simple, but people still believe that by buying property, or even the stock market, that they're going to make money automatically. It doesn't work that way. The market doesn't allow you to do that, right? What does that appreciation mean, Wilbur? Sorry, Wilbert. Is that appreciation? No, actually, that's not appreciation. Now that has an effect on appreciation, but the average appreciation is about 6%. And the reason it's 6% is because 6% is what you need to make on a property for it to not lose money. Does that make sense to everybody? We have to get a 6%. Here. Let's do. This stuff's great. It's very important. And when you understand it, you really look at property and investing, you know, in a different way. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the only way to look at it, because that's the reality of it. The reason is because. So how does the price go up? Well, the price is going to go up. What forces the price up? Okay, what forces the price up are three things. Okay, inflation. Let's do that again. So inflation, okay, plus tax, plus maintenance, and insurance. These three costs equal appreciation. Everybody see that? Those three things are the reason appreciation goes up. Those are the only real reasons that appreciation goes up. Now, can we have anomalies? Absolutely. Can we? Give me 1 second. Okay, so give me 1 second. Tarek has joined us, and Tarek, just can you say hi, just to make sure you can hear me all right? Tarek, can you hear me? Give me 1 second. Okay, good. So Tarek, if you look on your screen, you'll see that there's a mic. Do you see the mic in the screen? Let me just see if I can do that for you. Is there a mic option in the screen? Because even off the computer, it'll work. I'll let you type. So everybody else, let's go back to this for a second, okay? Does everybody understand this now? Inflation plus taxes plus maintenance and insurance, that's what causes appreciation to move up. Does everybody understand that? That's the reason that appreciation goes up. If the appreciation didn't stay pace with these three things, property would be in really bad shape. Does everybody understand that? Because if we paid insurance and maintenance, because all these things are mandatory, except that the insurance one, it could be if you owned a house completely, you don't have to have insurance. Insurance is mandatory, typically mandatory when you have any sort of financing on it, because the person who finances it wants to make sure if the house burns down, they'll get their money, right? So it's kind of a requirement. Otherwise, the inflation rate, the taxes in a particular area, and maintenance and insurance are going to cause it to go up. Okay, that's what's going to force it up. There's two other factors that create fluctuations in appreciation. Who could tell me? What are the two other ones? There's two other ones. Supply and demand, yeah, but what causes that supply and demand? Dave, you're right. Jobs, economy, new jobs, more specifically, new jobs. So if there's new jobs coming in, okay, what does that create? Why does that create in outside investors? Perfect. Those are the two reasons. If there's new jobs, why does that push prices out? It's got to be new jobs. Can't be existing jobs, because then it doesn't have the same effect. Demand, yeah, it might increase the demand, but I'm talking about even the same people in the same community. If new jobs come and employing more people, and you're right, David, it does increase demand. What's the big reason that it's going to go up? What's the big reason? New jobs, higher income, yeah. Which means what? This is what it comes down to. Okay? It comes down to this. The money supply goes up. That's what causes it. Money supply goes up. Affordability, yep. Money supply goes up. That's all it is. It's money supply. So if there's more money in an economy bidding on the same goods and services, property included, what's going to happen to prices? It's going to go up. Money supply goes up, prices go up. Money supply goes down, prices go down. So if jobs leave an area, prices are going to come down because the money supply has gone down. Foreign investors, outside investors, more specifically, it's better put, Jacqueline, that's exactly right. Outside investors, they create, what do they create? They create a higher money supply, right? There's more money in that same area bidding on the same goods and services. If there's more money bidding on the same goods and services, this comes back to what Sergey said, supply and demand. That's going to create a supply and demand change because the supply and the demand. Demand's there. There's going to be increased demand, but really it's really about the money supply. You know, how much money is in that economy. Does everybody understand that? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, good. Is anybody lost at this point? If you are, please let me know, because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying to you, because it's important. So, because what you start to realize, right, if the money supply is what's causing the prices to go up, what happens, what's happening, a factor that happens naturally, maybe not naturally, we don't want to say naturally because it doesn't happen, it happens because of these new money supplies, jobs, and foreign investment. You actually see inflation in that area go up. Does everybody understand that? Does everybody know what inflation is? Does anybody not know what inflation is? So inflation, I should just share it. Inflation is caused, okay, when, or the measure of inflation is more specific. Why don't I start there? The measure of inflation is this. If a can of soup, costs you, whoops, give me 1 second. If a can of soup cost you $1 last year, okay, 2017, 16, and that same can of soup cost you $103 in 2017, what has happened? What has happened? What, you know, what is it telling us? Now we know a couple things up front, okay? And I want to make this point, okay? The can of soup still costs them the same, right? And one could argue that it's costing them more because prices have gone up. But at the end of the day, this is what we know, the effect on people themselves. Their money value, yeah, exactly, Timothy. Their money value has gone down. Their ability to purchase, the purchasing power of their dollar has gone down because it's costing them the same, for the same goods and services, it's costing them more money. Okay, that's what inflation is. Okay, that's what inflation is. So imagine, okay, properties in a particular area, okay, going from 100, it's the same thing, going from 100, why is that not loving me right now? Hold on. Going from 100 to, from in 2016, going to 103. Everyone's excited because they think, well, we made money on our house. But have you really made money? What's caused that to go to 103? It's inflation. It's inflation, right? It just means our dollars are buying less. That's what it means. Our dollars are buying less. If you go to a community like Vancouver, where it wasn't 1 to 103, it was 1 to 135, right? People get excited and they think, well, this is great. But really, what it's done to the community, the people that live there, is it's costing them more to buy that same house. Last year they could have bought the house for $100,000. Now it costs $135. That just means that their dollars are worth less, right? It doesn't really mean the value has gone up, you know, $35,000. It means that you need $135 to buy what you could have bought last year at $100. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? And what it does, because property is so important and so embedded in everything we do in our lives, because property prices go up steep like that, what happens to everyday goods and services? Well, the grocery store, right, now it's going to cost them more per square foot, because where's their store? It's on property, right? The property's there, right? So the property value going up, those property dollars, the cost of the rent going up, and everything else going up, you really don't gain anything, you know, because everything goes up. The gas goes up, right? Incomes go up, but they go up because they have to stay in pace with what it costs to live there now. So a place like Edmonton, it's, you know, the incomes could be a little bit higher. Sorry, in Calgary, in Vancouver or Toronto, could be higher, but they're not really getting more spending power. That doesn't mean it's not worth it to live in a place like Vancouver or Calgary or Edmonton or, you know, Toronto, anywhere. You get in the bigger cities, you're getting more culture maybe, or you're getting a better view really in Vancouver, you could argue, but your dollars are not getting you more. That increased income is not getting you more because everything costs more. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah. So all this stuff that we're talking about, right, comes full circle to something that's very important. Right, very important, and I know this is challenging, you know, at points to accept this, but the truth of the matter, when you see the inside, what's behind the curtain of these prices and what's driving prices, what you realize fundamentally about property is that property, okay, I believe this wholeheartedly as a fact. To me, it's a fact, right? And I can't see any evidence saying no. What is this property worth? Zero. It's not worth anything. It's not worth it. There's no intrinsic value to property. There's no intrinsic value. What does intrinsic value mean? It means if something has intrinsic value, it has a value inside itself. In other words, the environment, what's outside of it, cannot make it go less than that. It can make it go higher, but it can't go less. So if there was intrinsic value in property, there would be a number that it couldn't go to, right? It would stop. It would say, well, this is intrinsic value. You can create environmental changes, but the intrinsic value of this property is 100,000. It will never go less than 100. Unfortunately, the market's taught us in the last 2 decades, or you don't have to be too old to know this, that the values of properties fluctuate, you know, immensely. And what we see is properties like, and I was just there in Detroit, where properties were 200,000, 250, and I'm not kidding you. They're buying houses in there still to this day. I was just there, 15 to 40 grand. That's what they're buying houses for. Houses that people can live in. These aren't condemned, or houses that are not, you know, you can't live in, right? They might not be. This isn't the top-notch neighborhoods, right? But you know, 15 to 40,000. Some of the properties are worthless, right? They're in areas where they're, you know, 5,000 will buy you the house. The property taxes are going to be more than that. They're going to wipe out the property taxes in a couple of years. You'll pay for the house value in itself over those 2 years. Same value of the house. So what we don't want to do is try to make money from purchasing property, because it's just not there, right? What we want to do is we want to affect, you know, what's around it, right? We want to recognize what's around it. If we can understand the structure of creative financing, if we can understand, you know, what we can do in the way of, you know, leverage and using debt properly, it's quite amazing. And what you realize is that you can do this, it works the same for business. It works the same for the stock market, same thing. It's not the underlying, you know, asset, and I say that loosely, that's going to make you money. It's the what you do around it, the structure you do around it, that's what's going to make you money in investing. Okay? Does that make sense to everybody? Good, good. Any questions? Any questions? It's okay if you're not grasping it completely. Please, I want you to ask the question. If there's a piece of this you don't understand, or if you're having a hard time seeing this point about values of real estate, please let me know, because I want to explain it to you. Because I want you to focus on the areas that are going to make you money in real estate, and fortunately or unfortunately, it really either or, I guess, from your perspective. The house itself, you can't really assess the value to it, because the value moves completely and utterly based around its environment, which we call extrinsic value. Extrinsic forces are creating the change in that property. The fundamental change that we see, we call appreciation and movement of property, really is really driven by those three things that we talked about. Those were the things, those were the things creating, where is it? Right there. Those were the things creating this here, right? Inflation, taxes, maintenance, insurance. That's what's really driving appreciation. Okay? That's what's driving appreciation. And property taxes are really how cities run. That's what drives, a massive amount of their income is from property taxes to run the services. Why are homes on corner lots worth less than ones a bit further in? It actually depends. That's a location question. Someone shared with me through text. Why are homes on corner lots worth less than ones a bit further in? Actually, I've seen both. I've seen where the corner lot was worth more. Typically, corner lots can give you more space because they're on a corner. There'll be more square footage to the lot itself. The street it's on even matters. The amount of traffic can affect a corner lot. Houses in cul-de-sacs are what we call they'll be listed as a street, as a place where there's one entry, one exit. Can cost you a little bit more because you're reducing the traffic. These things are more relative to location, but they're relative to other properties. So they're not necessarily going to be able, because of a location, they're not going to be profitable or better simply because they're in a better location, right? They're going to cost more based on the location. But location is more of a real estate, kind of philosophy or belief that it's okay to pay more for a house because of its location. And I'm okay with paying more for a property as long as it does what? What does it have to do? What does it have to do? Where do values come from for us? Where do values come from? How do we calculate value? It's always calculated the same way for us. Cash flow, exactly. And we need to know it produces income. And it would be the same thing. It would be the same thing if it was a business, right? We look at real estate as a business. If a business did not produce cash flow, then clearly we would think that the business was insolvent. They call it insolvent. When a company makes less money than it's spending, it's considered insolvent. And that's the beginning of the end for a company if they don't change that scenario. Same thing for a government. A government has to produce a balanced budget or a surplus to continue running the way it runs, right? In countries, like the United States has a massive deficit. That can be a problem, but debt itself is not the problem. It's more about who's managing it. So going back to the cap rate and ROI, by increasing the ROI and reducing the cash flow, is that better? So a couple things I want to say, because this is a good question. Okay, just because typically we say, well, let's go for the infinite return. What's an infinite return? How do we get an infinite return? Okay, an infinite return is driven by what? Zero money in. Yeah, zero money in. Zero money into the property is going to give us an infinite return. Does that mean it's a good investment for us? No, it doesn't. Not automatically. Doesn't mean automatically it's going to be a good return for us, because because we have no money into it, we could still be losing money. Okay. Infinite return obviously is based on income, but if you have $0 in, whether it's negative or positive, it's going to be the return is going to be a negative infinite return or a positive infinite return because there's no money into it. That's not going to necessarily, be good for us, right? Because just because we have no money, it doesn't mean it's a good asset for us. Fundamentally, and better said than cash flow, is cap rate. Cap rate. I'll show you something, okay? So, cap rate's a funny thing, okay? Okay, so, if I'm looking for a 10 cap, okay? Okay? Remember what I said. Why are we looking for a 10 cap? Why are we looking for a 10 cap for us? You can tell me. It's going to produce cash flow. Yeah, that's the intention. But why specifically 10 cap rate? Yes, creative financing. 10 cap rate allows us for creative financing, right? So roughly, as a rule, we can go as high as 7 for creative financing. Creative financing. And still profit, right? Now this is the interesting thing, okay? So more important than cash flow itself, I don't want to say cash flow, because cash flow is a function of cap rate and creative financing, right? And when I put CF here, I mean creative financing, I don't mean cash flow, okay? So 7% here, 7%, 7% creative financing, okay? Now look, this is the interesting part, you ready? In 1982, does anybody know what the mortgage rate was in 1982 in Canada? It was the highest in our history. Yeah, it was just under 22%. It was just under 22. So that's the highest. Now, if mortgage rates, and let's say, just for simplicity's sake, if mortgage rates, because all through the 80s it was pretty much double digits, if the mortgage rate was 15, what cap rate would you have to get on a house? If the mortgage rate's 15, what cap rate would you have to get? Well, yeah, exactly. You guys are right. 18, 25. The reason is, and the reason we'd even say maybe even higher than 18 is this. When I say 7, this is what I mean. I mean, we have some of it at 3, and maybe some of it at 5, maybe some of it at 9. When you add all these together, you're going to end up with 7. I'll explain that in a moment, okay? When your mortgage rate is 15, say, that means your creative financing is going to be more closer to 18 to 20. That's what you're going to need. Your creative financing is going to add up to 18 or 20. Therefore, we need a cap rate of like 21 to 23 to make this deal work. You see that? You see that? So cap rate at 10 works now because of the current rates. Cap rate's going to change based on the cost of the money. Based on the cost of the money, for sure. Always. Always. The cost of money. What we're trying to do fundamentally is to be who? Just remember, what are we trying to do? We're more complicated, we're more sophisticated than really real estate investors. We're trying to be who? The bank. Excellent. We're trying to be the bank. And by being the bank and using real estate to be the bank, that's how we're going to make money. Because there's only one game in the world, and that's money. We just use real estate because real estate typically, right, almost always is going to be the lowest cost money for us to get. Your mortgage typically is going to be the lowest cost loan you'll ever get in your life. You know, the cost of getting money for property is always going to be the lowest cost typically in any society. There'll be periods where it's not, for sure, because something's happening in the economy. But for the most part, that's absolutely the case as a rule. Mortgage money is always going to be, property money is always going to be the cheapest money. And what we want to do, like a bank, we want to buy and sell debt. Buy debt at one cost, sell it at another. What we do through real estate, right? Look what we've done with real estate. Okay, with real estate is we recognize and we say, okay, we have to buy money at this 18 to 20, right? We're buying money at 18. Do that again. 18 to 20. We're going to sell it at what? 21 to 23. That's how we make money, just like a bank. Just like a bank. Okay? Who's learning something right now? Okay. This is great stuff. It really will change your perception of money, of banks, and real estate, I hope. In real estate. It's important. It's important. Is everybody following me so far? Are we good? Good. Good. Does anybody need me to review anything before I go into this last little piece to explain about the creative financing of 7? We good? Okay. Let me show you something. Okay. Last little bit. Tarek couldn't come into the call. He's been with us, but he can't speak. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Tarek to come back next week, and he'll talk to us about creative financing. And thanks, Tarek, for joining and even listening in. That's great. And maybe he can build on some of this stuff. And this is the stuff that Tarek deals with when he's dealing with mortgages and financial planning. This is exactly what Tarek's dealing with: is what's the cost and how much do I need to make as a return. And he's one of the most creative guys that I know, and having the ability to use multiple investments and income. Okay, this is the last little bit we're going to do for tonight. I'm going to wrap it up. Okay, and like this, the video will be posted so you can review it. But I want to explain that to you, the 7%. Okay, what I mean by that. You see, when you are calculating the cost of money, okay, just open that up. Come on now. There we go. Okay, so watch. If we go, we have 100,000. Okay. Okay. We're trying to calculate the cost of borrowing the 100,000. And let's say we borrow 80,000 from a bank, 80K from a bank at 3%. Okay. All right. And we borrow 15K at, let's say, 8%. Hold on. And we borrow the last 5K at 12%. Okay? Now, for us to understand what the cost of this money is, what do? Well, we go 3% of 80 per year is how much? Who can tell me? Who can tell me? What are we going to pay in interest per year? Cash value. Exactly. 2,400. Good. Okay. And if we're paying 8% at 15K at 8%, what are we going to pay per year? What are we going to pay per year? Let's do one by one. 15 at 8, it's 1,200. Good. Okay. And 5K at 12%. How much is that? 600. Excellent. Okay. Now look. When we add these all together, how much do they add up to? Excellent. So the cost of this 100,000 is 4,200. Therefore, our interest rate, total interest rate, equals what? What does our total interest rate equal? Not 42. 4.2. Does everybody see that? You see that? It's 4.2. This is important because people get nervous about interest rates, right? They get nervous. They're like, oh, I can't pay 8%, I can't pay 12%, right? At the end of the day, whatever this combination is of these numbers, right? Whatever the combination of these, right? You can't say, oh, I'm paying 23% because I add these all up and that's what it is. That's not the case, right? We take each one of these individual loans, we look at the outcome of each individual loan, add it up, and that's what it gives. Is 4.2 sound high to you as an interest rate? That doesn't sound high. That's not too high for us to do business, right? To make something work for us. 4.2 is great, right? So even though we paid here 8, and even though we paid here 12, we ended up with a 4.2. A 4.2. That's where that rate becomes important. Now look, I used 8 and 12, and I still only got a 4.2. How high could I have gotten to get to a 7? I could have gone much higher on that last 20%. 8 and 12 is small. I could have went. Let's see. I could have went 16 and 24, and I'd still be under 7. Do you see that? See where I could have doubled? I could have doubled the interest on this and this to 16 and 24, and I'd still be under 7 up here. And I want you to get excited about that. I really do. I don't want you to worry that you're paying too much interest. At the end of the day, the interest only matters to us, right? When we can calculate how much we're making, right? The cost of money versus, right, how much we're making. How much we're making. If the cost of money is 7 and we're making 10, that's 3. That sounds good to me. That sounds good to me. I'll do that all day, right? That's no problem. And that's exactly what a bank does. A bank takes depositors' money, pays them a very small fractional return, or they sell you a GIC at 1%, and then they turn around and sell that same money and generate 3, 5, 7, 8%, 12%, depending on what kind of loan it is. And that's how they make money. We want to do the same thing. And real estate really offers, I would say, the best opportunity for this type of investing, money investing. No question. No question. Because you're always starting with low-cost money. Does everybody understand that? Good. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up. I'm going to give you the last few minutes to ask any questions before we wrap up for the day. Okay. So what is the cap rate? Great question. We would have to run the income numbers versus expenses. Let's say the cap rate, because we're looking for 10, the cap rate would be 10 on this day. So if the cap rate's 10, we'd be making 5.8%. And then we calculate that over the whole amount. If we spend a spreadsheet on properties, ask for feedback. Jack, when did you send me that? Did you send it to me? You sent it to me, right? I assume. With the numbers in it? Okay, send it to me. Send it to me again. Send it to me again. Just send it to me again. And I'll take care. I'll look at it. If you want, we can look at it right now if I can find it. Good. Dave, I remember seeing yours. Yep. So listen, if you guys want to review those real quick, we can do that right now. I'd rather do it with everybody on. Dave, actually, I emailed you back about a call. Did you see that email, Dave? About talking to you? That's okay. Not a problem. Just wanted to sure if a couple spots were done correctly. Yeah, that's no problem. So send it to me right now. Let's do it as a group. You always know this. Always remember weekends and weekends and holidays. I typically don't unless it's something's up and you need to talk to me. But you'll always will always have the opportunity to review anything on Tuesday. So you know that's always going to be there. But resend me those emails. I'm waiting for them now. Please send them to the. No, don't worry. We can look at it. It'll just take us a few minutes. I'd rather we look at it together as a group so we can all learn from it. Okay. Let me know when you've sent that email. Yeah, no worries, Dave. We can look at it today. That's okay. We're on the call anyways. Let me see something. There we go. Okay. Yeah, there it is. Let's open that up. Give it 1 second. It says the file's corrupted. Can't be open. That's interesting. What happened? Oh, I got it. Yep. Okay. Let's do this. Go through it together, okay? Alright. Hold on 1 second. Okay, so what I'm going to do. Yeah, looks right. I just opened it up. It wouldn't open initially, but that's fine. So let's do this. Let's go meeting. Give me 1 second. Okay. Okay. Okay, can everybody see my screen? This is the deal, right? I got the right one? Good. Okay. So let's look at this deal. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Okay. Let's look at this deal. Okay. So price is 390,000. 1 unit, $1,750 a month, $21,000 gross income. So this is your gross income, right? Now we look at the expenses. 280 for taxes. Insurance is. Let's move this up here. Insurance. Let's do that again. Insurance is $1,368. Utilities $316. Is that right? $316. That number is supposed to be. It's your house. Oh, okay. Okay. Cool. This is good. I like this. I like that you did it on your house. That's awesome. I suggest everybody do this for real. Like I said that last time, to do it to your own house, which is awesome. Okay, 316 for utilities. Are you using candles or? Is that number supposed to be a little bit higher? Rent. Rent rest. Is this a condo? Keyboard sticking. Is this a condo? No? Okay. This management of 500, what is that? What is that? Money on repairs. Okay. So maintenance, you mean? Maintenance. Okay. I see. Okay. So let's do that. Let's make that a 0. And just as a rule, everybody, a good number to use for maintenance on a property is 1%. So this is 390. 1% of 390 would be $3,900 a year. Okay, for maintenance on a house. Okay, now that would be different if it was brand new. If the house was brand new, then the maintenance cost, although the maintenance cost would not be this high because everything's new, you'd be paying a higher purchase price for the property. Okay, that's why you pay so much more for a new house. Okay, all right. So utilities. Do you want to change this number? Utilities. So utilities right at 390. I don't know what that means. Rent, pay. Renters pay. Oh, okay. I see. Renters pay 316. Okay, okay. All right. So the maintenance. So you're not living at this house, right? Is that what you mean? You're not living at this house? This is one of your properties that you're renting? Okay, now I got it. I thought it was your own house, which I think is a great exercise to do your own house. But you know what? Let's do this. Let's go 0 and let these numbers be calculated here. Vacancy, maintenance, and management. Okay? All right. 316 is what they pay in utilities. Is there any additional costs that you have to pay on this house other than the taxes, the insurance, and this cost right here? Is there any other costs? The maintenance and vacancy management are here. So we're good? We've covered everything? You okay? Okay, good. All right. Okay. So we look net operating expense. Okay. Let's look at net operating income. Is 11,756. The net operating expense is 9,244. That's 44% of what? Of the gross, which is the gross income of 21,000. Does everybody see that? 21,000 is the gross income. We take away the expenses. That's 44%. Net operating income is 56. Now let's come back here. The financing, you didn't put anything. Let's just leave that alone for a second. And what you see here is the current cap rate is 3, which remember we talked about this. What on average is the cap rate? Coverage ratio is not coming up because there's no financing numbers, right? Because that's what coverage ratio is about, right? Covering the cost of holding the property. Okay, that's a function of that. So if the cap rate's 3, remember, 3%, so you have no mortgage on it. This is what it's telling us. It's telling us that you're making, okay, great. What it's telling us is that you're making 3% of this, 390,000, 3%. Now, this is what I would say, personally for me. I think you're taking a lot of risk for 3%. A lot of risk for 3%. Absolutely. Absolutely. So with this house, and it's up to you. I mean, what I want from everybody to understand is when I'm looking at this, I'm going to tell you what I see, and hopefully some options for us. So for us at 3%, you know, it's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's not worth the risk of renters. It's not worth the risk of, taking on taxes, maintenance, insurance, and all this for 3%. It's not worth it, right? 3%. So we'd like to see this cap rate come up to 10. Financing is not going to change that for us, right? Everybody understand that? No matter what we do in financing, that's not going to change the cap rate. Okay, that'll change the cash flow, but it won't change the cap rate. The cap rate's a function of this and this, right? Sorry, this, that's the gross income, this, and net operating income. Okay, how much we're making after we pay our bills. Okay, everybody understand that? Everybody see that? That's what's driving this number here, current cap rate of 3%. So although we're making profit $976 per month, you know, that's what we're bringing in. The way we're gaining that is because there's no mortgage on the property. Because as soon as we put a mortgage on this property is going to do what? It's going to be negative cash flow. Negative cash flow. So I'll give you a couple options that you can examine or look at. Okay? So first thing we always want to look at when it's a single family home is rent to own. And by doing the rent to own, this is the good news, is this money here, these three things, that's that $770 per month that you would be spending on maintenance, vacancy, and management, all those monies come back to us, right? They come back to us because the tenant buyer takes care of vacancy, maintenance, and management, right? We don't need management on it because they're tenant buyers. The maintenance is something that's they're responsible for, and the vacancy is addressed through the non-refundable option consideration. Okay, so we could do something with this. We could take this property and probably turn it into a profit center. Let's just check something real quick. Check something. 80, 20. And it went. Oh, you wiped them out. Okay, let's do 1 second equals this. This. Oops. This. What I'm trying to do is figure out, let's see, 3, 5, okay, all right, so what I'm trying to do is calculate, do you see this? Now see, we financed it, look what happened, 80%, the mortgage is at 80, 312,000 at 3%, that's the cost. At 20%, the remaining 20% at 78,000 at 5%, it's giving us that. Okay. Now, the actual true interest rate is going to be a combination of both of these, right? It's not going to be. It's more like we'd have to add these two up, which is 1930, and that would be the interest rate against 100,000, right? The 400,000. That would give us the true interest rate. It's probably sitting around 3.75 is the real interest rate. So of the whole amount of money that we're borrowing, right? So if we borrowed the whole amount, right? And even it'd be under 4%. This interest rate would be under 4% total. At 4%, that's going to cost us $19.30. Now you see the coverage ratio bounces up to 51 from it wasn't there at all, and that's too low for us. We want it to be, we want it to be 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. Which means we're bringing in enough money to cover the cost of it. Now you see the cap rate hasn't changed at all. Nothing's happened to the cap rate. Right? The cap rate's the same. This has changed for us. The profit per month, $950. Now if we look, that's $770 from these three things. Okay, $770 from these three things. There's nothing else we can really take away except maybe this $316, which is nominal. It's not really a lot. These two things you're still going to pay, the tax and the insurance, right? The only thing that's going to change this for us is what? Is by increasing the mortgage to $2,000. So if we went $24,000, okay, let's see what happens. Okay, $24,000, $820. Yeah, you would at least this. If we turn this into a rent to own, you'd make about $100 a month on it with fully financed. The good news is what are some positives about that? It's not a lot of money though, so it's $100. But what does that do for you, Jacqueline? What does that do for you? What's the big plus by converting it the way we did? Yeah, she has 390K to play with. Yeah, yeah. Now let's say this 20,000 is I'm just trying to reduce it to 1%, which really is nothing. I'm trying to bring it down as if though you put the 20,000 in there, right, as a down payment. So 78,000 we'd leave in the house, which I don't love, right? But it brings that down. That's gonna turn your cash flow positive to about $300, $230 per month, and you have that money to play with. Now, as a lease option, that's not a ton, right? You're gonna make, if we finance it all, we looked at it, and that's gonna be about $100 a month in cash flow, right? Is what it's gonna give us, just under $100 a month. That's not a ton of money for a rent home, but at least you get the money out. This is interesting. If you see the estimated property value based on income is $141,000. That's because this income that she's getting against the actual amount that she's putting in is huge. Like this is a huge amount of money versus the income that she's getting, right? And hence that's the cap rate. It's 3.6%. It's low. It's 3.6%. Now, lease option would be a better option than the current situation, I would think. What's the other option, Jacqueline? What's the other option? What's the other option? Anybody? What's the other option? Yeah, you could sell it. Yeah, and that's totally up to you, Jacqueline. I want you to be in the best possible position. We can change the structure. We're not changing the house. We're changing the structure as a rent to own, or we're selling it to free up this capital. Because at 3%, as far as I'm concerned, you're taking more risk than you should. That's a lot of money making you 3%. We can do better than that, I believe, and I think that in my opinion, real estate's not worth 3%. I wouldn't invest in real estate for 3%. As a general rule. I'm not going to say in every single circumstance. I'm going to say as a general rule. This is an investment property for you. Be a little different if it was your own house. This is an investment property. Okay. These numbers are all going to look not so great because the cap rate's not so great. But you can see what the cap rate, based on that cap rate, what this house as an income property for us would be worth. Right? Does anybody have any questions about this before we close it out? Are you good, Jacqueline? Did you get any questions from either one of you? We good? It was your home initially. And that's common, actually. That happens a lot. People buy a house and they move and they keep that existing property because they don't need the money to buy. So they figure it's a good idea to keep the house. But it's a lot of risk for you for that, it's a lot of risk. Even if it was $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000, 3% return. I mean, that's not too far away from a GIC. GICs are horrible, obviously, but the GIC. How did you calculate the rent amount on the rent to own? Raphael, great question. All I did actually was add $250 a month. That's how I got $24,000. That's it. And what the $240 a month in this case would be a rent credit, right? Originally this was $21,000. Sorry, $21,000, and that was giving us the $1,750. All I did was I said, well, what if we go to $2,000 a month, and that would give us $24,000 a year. That's where I changed the number, because at $1,750, that's where we got the original cap rate of 3. By me producing more income from it, that's what increased the cap rate to 3.6. Does that make sense? Good. Raphael, does that make sense for you? Good. Excellent. Okay. Any questions with this before we move on to the next one? Okay, good. And Jacqueline, if you want to talk more about that, if either one of you guys want to talk more about that, we can do that offline, okay? You can we can have a conversation about it or email. That's fine with me. We can talk about more specific about this property, what you can do with it. Okay. Now, this property is located in what province? Is this in? Or what area? Sorry, what province they're in? Alberta. Okay, but where is that located? Is that inside the city? Oh, good. Where's that? Okay. Okay. So you know what we could do, Jacqueline? Okay, I'll put this out to everybody. South of. Okay. This is what I'll tell everybody. Okay. This property could be a deal between you and another person, even on this call, or another Rich Dad student. And I'll tell you why. What you can do with this property, Jacqueline, is somebody else could find a rent-to-own person for this property, for them to buy it from you. And what you can do, Jacqueline, to allow this individual to do that, is to sell them this property, and what you can do for the individual, as an example, this is just an example. What you can do for this individual is you can actually offer creative financing for them. You could hold a VTB 20%. And do you know what's funny about that? You'd make 5% on the VTB. And right now, how much are you making on this property? You make it 3%. You could sell it, keep 20% equity, and make 5% as a creative financing, and that would allow you to get top dollar for the property because you're allowing the creative financing as being part of the deal. Does that make sense? Good, good. So we can talk about those opportunities. You think about it. You guys think about it, and you tell me what, if you've come to some conclusion or something. But I want you to recognize the opportunity. We still have opportunity here for you. I just want to unravel yourself of this property. Can still be a profit center for you, much better than the situation that you're in now. Okay. Okay, let's look at another property. Give me 1 second. Okay, last property. Hold on. Stop sharing for a second so I can look up that other property. Okay. Oh. Did you send me the other property? Edmonton, thank you. Yeah, okay. Sorry. No worries, no worries. No worries. Okay, so there was another property we're gonna look at, and Dave, I didn't see that email. Did you send that email? Okay, let's do this. Oh, yesterday. Okay, I thought you were going to resend it. No worries. Let's do this. And partnering, how would that work with Jacqueline? So let's do this. First, I'll say this, Dave. I'll review the property, and we'll talk in the next couple of days. Just because I want to wrap up. It's getting late for everybody. If that's okay with everybody. Is that okay, Dave? Okay, good, cool. Okay. So with that property, and we'll wrap up with that, okay? With that property, the way it wouldn't necessarily be a partnership. It doesn't have to be a partnership, but the partnership could be somebody gets a tenant buyer for them, for this house. That's one option, right? Gets a tenant buyer for this person, and what they would do is they could refinance the property, get the equity out, leave 20% in. Well, not necessarily a bird dog. It could be a bird dog, and they could just pay for somebody giving them that lead. They could just pay them for it. But if it's someone who's partnering with them, they got a tenant buyer, and they say, "Look, I got a tenant buyer. Let's partner up on this house." That would be a better scenario, I think, for everybody. If they had their own bird dog doing that, then yeah, sure, they could do that. So the tenant buyer. Oh, then do it. Then do it. My apologies. Then consider it. We'd have to run the numbers. Are they interested? Are they interested in the property? No idea. Okay. All right. Well, we won't know until we ask. Absolutely ask them. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Always start with who's there. Yeah, absolutely. Concerning other options with the property, we could, Jacqueline could outright sell the property and get, sell the property, and by her selling it with the option for creative financing, VTB, holding a VTB, that would allow her to get top dollar for the property because more people could participate in the purchase, and also it would help the investor because the investor would have 20% already, put up by the seller, right? And for the investor, that's huge because the investor could come, say, with 5 or 10% into the deal, right? And only finance. So they could come with their own money, 5-10%. It doesn't matter if it's your money or somebody else's money or partner's money. You'd have to sort that out. But the financer, the person who finances the rest of the property, would only be putting up 70% in that scenario. And that would be good for the financer, the private money lender, or the hard money lender, even because you have a little bit of skin in the game. For Jacqueline, it's a big deal because when you list a property and say, hey, I can do creative financing, it opens up the opportunities. Okay? It opens up the opportunities. Does that make sense, Odette? Does that cover it? Cool. Cool. Odette, any questions? Any additional questions? Good. Excellent. Awesome. Okay. So before we wrap up, I just want to make sure everybody's getting into into momentum, the next momentum. I know many of you are going actually to Toronto for the symposium, which is awesome. I won't be able to be there. I'll be in the U.S. But if you definitely take the opportunity online. Good. Take the opportunity to network and talk to people. Have a great time. Enjoy it. It's a great city in Toronto. A great opportunity to really create some roots in that city because there'll be lots of people obviously from the Toronto area. But you're going to see people from Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, obviously Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, and some of the middle provinces, Winnipeg. You'll see some people all over. So it's very cool for you to do that. Yeah, so if you do it online, great. Excellent, Dave. That's great. If it falls on the same day, Tuesday, same time, I don't want you to worry or panic. Don't worry. What are we always going to be able to do? Watch the recording, okay? Tuesday meeting is always going to be here for you, okay? So, and we'll keep learning, and you can watch the recording as it comes, okay? Okay, good. Next week, we will start at 9:30 again. Tarek, hopefully, will you be able to join us 9:30 next week? Is that possible for your schedule? I know you're really busy. Hopefully, Tarek can join us next week. And awesome. That's awesome, Tarek. I really appreciate that. And what we can do is Tarek can really drill down on financing options. I've learned a great deal from him. He knows the ins and the outs of institutional investing. Not only that, and private money. So he's a great resource, and for those of you who are looking for creative ways, this is somebody who can definitely give you insight into that. Okay, all right. So we'll do that next week. Okay, excellent. Any questions before we wrap up? Did we learn some things today? Yes. Good. Excellent. Keep learning. Keep hunting too for those properties and run those properties and we can review them together. Okay. Awesome. Okay, we're gonna wrap up. This will be recorded and posted the next few days. I will send out the link or you can just go to that link. You'll see it. It'll be posted. Okay. This video will be posted the next few days. You'll see the link and you can watch this video and the previous videos. Okay. Awesome. All right. Thanks for everybody for coming out, and yeah, subscribe. That's right. You did good. Subscribing is good because it'll alert you when there's a new video, okay? Everybody have a great night, and we will see you next Tuesday. Be safe and keep hunting.